Most of the historiography on the violence that has been inflicted on the Armenians of the Ottoman Empire has concentrated on the Armenian genocide. And the two phases of violences that happened prior to the Armenian genocide, namely the Hamidian massacres and the Adana massacres, have not received the attention of scholars. Adana, or the region of Cilicia, has been considered as one of the most important geographic regions for the Armenians due to its religious, economic, and political significance. In terms of religious significance, it housed the House of Cilicia in Sis. In terms of economic significance, it was a major producer of cotton, and Armenians became the most important producers of cotton in the end of the 19th century. And politically, it became also an important place for the Armenian political parties who were active in the region of Adana towards the end of the 19th century in a clandestine matter. And after the 1908 revolution, they would become legal political parties competing over other parties in order to have representation in the Ottoman parliament. As a result of the 1908 Young Turk Revolution, Armenians in the Ottoman Empire now began freely practicing their political rights, freely practicing their cultural rights, and freely demonstrating their religious ceremonies. But only after a few months from the 1908 revolution, the Adana Massacres took place in tandem with the counter-revolution that happened in the capital of the Ottoman Empire, Istanbul. Unlike what has been mentioned in the old historiography, that this is a religious revolution based on Islam against ideas of modernity, it wasn't as such. Even liberals participated in it. And the news of the counter-revolution spread like lightning to different parts of the Ottoman Empire, different provinces. There were uprisings in Aleppo, in Van, in Caesarea, Kaiser, and other places, but these uprisings in Damascus too were put down immediately. It is only in the case of Adana that we see the uprising go out of hand, leading to a cataclysmic wave of violence. Also, it's important to mention, economically, Adana attracted every year between 120,000 to 140,000 migrant workers coming from different regions of Adana and different regions, provinces of the eastern part of the Ottoman Empire to work in the cotton industry. They would come twice per year in spring and fall in order to sow and cultivate the cottons. So the city of Adana became a time bomb in which now you have major tensions arising between the landowners, between the Armenian factory owners of cotton who have brought implements of the cotton production, which actually reduced the need of labor, and eventually there is a lot of dissatisfaction, coupled with Muslim refugees who came from the Balkans or the Caucasus. So immediately after the arrival of the news of the counter-revolution in Adana, the Adana massacre starts on April 14 and ends with April 16. The massacres did not only confine to killing Armenians, but also burning their houses, their factories, their mills, and everything. It was a major economic disaster that Armenians have suffered. This is the first phase of the massacre. It lasts 3 days and it's confined to the city of Adana. But the tensions continue simmering within the period. Ihsan Fikri, the editor of Itidal newspaper and the leader of the Young Turks in the city of Adana, who had kind of a moderate position towards the Armenians, now becomes the mouthpiece of the conspiracy that Armenians initiated a failed uprising in order to establish the kingdom of Cilicia. And this eventually, in the inter-massacre period now, convinces the local population that Armenians are preparing to something bigger. And that leads to major anti-Armenian uprisings and massacres that took place in different parts of the province of Adana, and also poured into the province of Aleppo. Now, the second phase of violence starts April 25 and ends April 27. And this is the time when now troops, 3 battalions come from the western part of the Ottoman Empire, from Tekfirda to Adana, in order to bring peace. And upon the arrival of these troops, supposedly Armenians start firing on the camp, and this mainly led to the second wave of the violence, in which now we have proofs that soldiers from these battalions participated in the second wave of the massacres. So when the massacres began in the city of Adana, Armenians barricaded themselves in their house in the Armenian quarter, and the mob, motivated by economic interest, incited by agents provocateurs, attacked the Armenian quarter and killed the Armenians through using blunt instrument and inflicting severe injuries on Armenians, killing many of them and abducting many women, after which these women were converted to Islam. The massacres led to the killing of more than 20,000 Armenians and 2,000 Muslims. In terms of justice, Armenians were convicted as the culprits by the local court-martial, which consisted of members who took part in the massacres, but eventually by Armenian Patriarchate lobbying and by the Armenian National Assembly lobbying, and specifically with the intervention of Hagop Babikian, who was sent to Adana in order to investigate the massacres and the reasons of these massacres took place. A third court-martial was sent. The third court-martial that was sent from Istanbul did a new investigation afresh and provided light sentences to the main culprits of the massacres. These main culprits are Governor of Adana, Javad Bey, the Commander-in-Chief of Adana, Remzi Pasha, the notables Abdelkader Baghdadizadeh, and among others, Ehsan Fikri, the editor of Itidal newspaper, and his colleagues, who all played roles in escalating the violence and directing the mob against Armenians. The Adana massacres represents an important case study not only for understanding Ottoman or Middle Eastern history, but the lessons that we get from the Adana massacres have global repercussions, because similar acts of violence have taken place in the course of history within different societies. What interests us here is the structures of violence, how one group being used and abused through incitement of conspiracy theories, of manipulation of their emotions, target the other more vulnerable minority group in achieving specific goals. Hence, we must be vigilant in identifying the manifestations of such behavior as weaponization of media, fake news, and conspiracy theories, and come up with mechanisms to prevent the repetition of such acts of mass violence.